What up? It's on the Sequel to Sobriety. My name is Rob, and I'm an alcoholic and drug addict. We're going to get into it on how cholos punked your boy. I got punked out hardcore by some cholos right there from the hood, man. That shit was heartbreaking, dog. Now that and I couldn't do nothing about it. Honestly, I couldn't do nothing about it, and it was fucked up. If it would have came down to where we actually had to get down, I like to think that I would have got down. But these guys push me to a limit where, I mean, my limit of for I can actually break and have to do something is very out there. You know what I mean? I could take a lot of abuse, a lot of disrespect, and it doesn't make no difference to me because at the end of the day, I don't want to fight nobody. You know what I mean? But if I had to, I like to think that I would have. So let's fuck all that gibberish, right? Let's just get straight into the story. So my homie calls me, right? He tells me, "Hey, Rob, come through to my pad." And I was all right, cool. And I always used to get this phone call like around 9, 10 in the morning. Me and him used to hang out. I was always at his pad, right, for at 10 in the morning. If I was kick it all day, it's supposed to be my boy. But sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes he just did his thing. And you screw me over pretty much, right? And this I got screwed over this day. I go to his pad. I remember I was wearing some Lokes that I found. That brand Lokes, right? And I'm mentioning this because they come into play in this story. So I'm walking by. I go down the stairs. As soon as you go down the stairs to get close to his building, there's a little picnic bench right there, and right there was some cholos and some cholas, I guess. I go to my homie's house. You keep walking. You go across the bridge. I do my fucking secret knock. I do my bird call. Doesn't come out. And I was just like, all right. And in my mind, honestly, in my mind, like I fucking felt some type of weird ass energy coming from those fools. And in my tweaker mind, I was just like, hey, I'm not gonna let these fools punk me, right? I'm just gonna go through whatever, you know. But what I really wanted to do was go through the back of the building and head my way and go the long way around back to my pad. That's what I really wanted to do, which I should have at the end. You know what I mean? But I didn't. I don't know. There was something inside of me that wanted to make me feel tough, or I don't know what the fuck was going on with me, right? So I come back, walking around, and when I'm passing them, sure enough, they stop me and they're like, "Hey, fool, so you Rob?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, your boy told us about you that you're gonna hook us up with some Tamil and get some trees for us." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I can do that." And I was like, "What you trying to get?" And he said, "Oh, well, how much you got?" I was like, "Oh, I don't have it. I gotta call my homie and this and that." You know what I mean? And then at that time, another one of my other homies was coming up, and we'll call him T. He was coming up, and T came up to us. He me saludó, shook my hand, and then he said, "Hey, ¿qué onda, qué pedo?" I was like, "Oh, pues vamos a ir a agarrar Tamil." He said, "Oh, I want some too. I got 20 on it." And I was like, "All right, cool." So my homie T gave me the $20, but the cholos didn't give me no money. And I was like, "So what's up? How much you guys want?" And they're like, "Oh, like an eighth." And I was like, "All right, cool." You know what I mean? I didn't think nothing of it and shit. So I called my homie, and he tells me, "Yeah, come meet me over here in the Vista Terrace by the where the basketball courts used to be." I was like, "All right." I start heading towards the basketball courts where the basketball courts used to be. Now it's like a little picnic area, gathering area. You know what I mean? And so we get there. I tell the cholos and my homie T to wait right there. I'm gonna go talk to the homie that's gonna give me the stuff. And I go over there. Mind you, I only had the $20 from the homie T. So I go over there. I talk to, and then I go over there. And when I'm walking away from the cholos and the homie T, excuse me, um, the cholos are like, "Hey, tell your homie to come through." You know what I mean? Like, just say what's up with her. And I still didn't see anything wrong. See, this is the part of my drug addiction where I wasn't aware of my surroundings. I didn't know what was really happening behind the scenes. I was just so oblivious to danger, to a setup, to anything. You know what I mean? And I was all right, cool. And I went and talked to my homie, and I gave him the $20, and he gave me some the $20 worth, and then he had the eighth in his other hand, and he said, "Oh, you got the money for this?" I was like, "Oh no, actually, it was the homies from the hood. They're up there, and they want to talk. They want to meet you. You know what I mean?" And I seen his face, his whole aura change, dog, whole body language change, and he's like, oh nah, and like it's like something he's been through before already, you know what I mean? And I still at this point didn't know what the fuck was going on. And he's like, nah, nah, and he fucking took off. I was like, what the fuck? And then I was like, all right. I went back out to the picnic area, and I don't know why in my mind, instead of giving the stuff back to T, I showed the cholos like, hey, look, this is what you guys are missing out on. Like this is what it looks like. And they're like, oh, let me see. And the main guy got it, opened up the sack, looked at it. He's like, oh yeah, it's good, and put it in his pocket. And then I was just like, oh shit. And then he's like, hey, and then the cholo started asking, and then the homie T was right there, just like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? Like that man, they came up on that fool and shit, but he knew what was going on. I did it. And then the cholos asked me like, "Hey, what's up with your boy? I thought he's gonna come through." I was like, "Nah, it's because he bounced." You know what I mean? You guys didn't have the money, so he's not gonna give me nothing, you know. And he's like, "Hey, fool, but you know what's up? Where we from, right?" And that's when like shit started to turn on me, and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" Like I thought we were all friends. I thought we were friends. How many of them have them? Friends. I thought we were fucking friends. Like, what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? But they started getting evil on me. Dog said, "It's like pinche chamuco a la verga." You know, like for real. Like he's like, "Hey, fool, you know what's up, fool? We're from the hood. Okay? You're in my hood. Okay? You can't be fucking selling stuff like that." And I was like, "Well, I'm not the one selling anything, dog. It's the other guy." And he's like, "Well, go bring that fool. Well, no sé qué pedo." And I was just like, "What?" Like, nah. He's like, "Oh, fool, if you don't bring him over here, we're gonna get you and him. No sé qué." And I don't know about all you guys, but personally, I don't like getting beat up or stomped out by some cholos. And then probably the homie T's gonna fuck me up too because they came up on his fucking $20, right? So I was like, let's go. I was like, I'll take you. Let's go, right? So we're walking. We're over there going, passing my apartments, going into the houses. And then one of the cholos, I don't know, he had a fucking little moment of clarity, and he's like, "Hey, are you taking us to his mom's house?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's where he lives." He's like, nah, we can't do that." And it was really, honestly, it was really surprising that these young dudes were like in that type of mind frame where they can't mess with people's mom's house, which is just it's just a testament to like the OGs, the older guys that don't fuck around with people's mom's house. I don't know, it's just the rule that cholos had back then, or you know what I mean? I don't know. So it tripped me out, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna wait for you right here." And then he's like, "But go bring them." And I was like, "All right." And they're like, "But we need to know that you're coming back, so we need you to leave your shoes right here." These motherfuckers wanted me to take off my shoes and go get that fool barefoot, dog. And I was like, "Nah, I'm not going barefoot, fool." I was like, "I'm not gonna leave my shoes. Like that's a little too much." You know what I mean? And he's like, "All right, leave your glasses." And I said, "Okay." Took off my glasses and I left them on the floor. That's when the punking started, and I still didn't realize what was really happening around me. I still didn't know that it was some type of bullshit that was about to go down. And I fucking walk through the houses. I make the turn. I go up the cul-de-sac, and my homie's older brother's out there. And I was like, "Oh, hey," I was like, "Hey, fool, what's up, dog?" He's like, "Hey, qué pedo," you know? He's a cool ass dude too. I've known them all my life as well. And he's like, and I told him, I was like, "Hey, fool," I was like, "What's up with your brother?" He's like, "He's right there in the pad, fool. What's up?" And I was like, "It's because I got some homies right there from the hood, dog. They want to meet him, and it's making me look bad." And all of a sudden, I turned it on me. I wanted his brother to come out and come meet these cholos and face him and shit like that. And he's like, "Hey, fool," and this is like the first time I ever heard some gangster shit come out from this fool, right? He's like, "Hey, if those fools from the hood want a trip, I'm right here. Bring them over here, fool. I'm right here. What's up? If they want a trip, dog." And then right there is when that moment of clarity for me hit in my fucking smoked out brain, dog. The moment of clarity hit me, and I'm like, oh, they want me to take this fool over so they could beat him up and jack him. It all makes sense now. Fuck, okay. And I told my friend, like, I laughed about it, and I told the guy, the older brother, I was like, "Hey, fool, la neta." I shook his hand, fool, and I was like, "Hey, fool, la neta, like, for real, dog, dispensame, way. Like, I'm sorry that I even put your brother in this type of fucking predicament. I really didn't know what I was doing. La neta, my bad is not even like I'm not gonna bring nobody over here. I'll just face the charges over there. You know what I mean?" He's like, "All right, fool, that's what's up." Go back, like walk my ass back to the apartments, right? I go to pick up my glasses from the floor, and they're fucking broken, dog. They're fucking all smashed up. I picked them up, I threw them over the fence, and I fucking felt it right there, like, oh man, these fools are gonna get me, dog. I walk up to him and they're like, "Hey, fool, what's up with your boy? I thought he was coming through." And I was like, "Nah." And then the cholo, like the main guy that was right there, gets in my face, like right here in my mouth, got a dog. Like I could fucking smell what he had for breakfast and shit. You know what I mean? I could fucking smell the ass he was eating yesterday, dog. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And he was like, "Hey, fool." He's like, "People who disrespect me, dog, they get it, fool. A mí se me sale el pinche chamuco, homie. Que I'm gonna have to do my thing right here, you know, sé qué." And then I was just like, oh, like I balled my fist because I was just like, fuck, if he hits me, then you know what I mean? I'm assuming we're gonna fight. And then my homie T, según él he's from the escuela de Tijuas. So I don't know if he was, later on, he said that he had his fucking blade and he was ready to poke somebody. And I was like, yeah, I was like, all right, motherfucker. But I was just like, fuck, what happens, if it cracks, it cracks. Mind you, up to this point, never been in a fight one time in my life. There, I'm already in my early 20s. Never been in a fist fight, never been punched, nothing. And so I'm just like, fuck, I'm ready for it, whatever's. And then some other dude says, she chimes in, right? And he's like, hey, these fools are residents, dog. And I've never heard that term resident before. I was like, well, yeah, I'm a resident of right here of the Villanueva. I'm a resident of San Isidro. So, like, who cares? I live here. And one of the guys says, "Oh, they're not from nowhere." And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, if we do something, these schools are gonna call the cops." And I was like, I started laughing. And I was like, well, "I probably would, motherfucker. Fuck out of here. You guys gonna fucking jump me for some fucking bullshit. You know what I mean?" And they picked up and they left. They left with the homie T's $20 worth of stuff. I ended up with broken fucking Lokes glasses that I have no idea where the fuck I came up on them from. And they ended up with a bruised ego, bruised pride, upset at myself, ashamed of myself. I couldn't hold my head up high that day because this group of fools just straight fucking bitched me out to the max, and I was scared at that. It's hard to say. I was at the end of the day, I was scared of what was gonna happen. To be honest, like straight up, I was just scared. And Jesus bounced, and then the homie T was like, "Fuck, but you Rob, you know you gave him my money." And I was like, "Well, you were here. How come you didn't do nothing about it?" He's like, "Nah, I was." But if they did something, I was ready to fucking do my thing. I was like, "Shut the fuck up." Now we both got punked for our shit. Dog, my mama's like, and it's just that fool never looked at me ever the same way again. I never looked at myself the same ever again after that because it's just so heartbreaking the positions that I would put myself when I was on drugs. When I was smoked out, I didn't have any clarity of what was going on. I had no fucking awareness. You know what I mean? Like I was so fucking walking so blind and so smoked out. My brain was so fried that I couldn't put one and one together. And I let this shit happen to me, and I felt so bad. And then I went to go tell my homie who's Segul, he's like the plug, and he knows all kinds of people. And he tried to make me feel good. He's like, "Hey, fool, you know what? Like, you did the right thing, dog. Walking away from a fight takes a lot of balls." He's like, "And especially if you fight a gang member from this neighborhood and you win, you just made enemies for the rest of your life, dog. They're always gonna be tripping on you. They're always gonna want to come get at you. And why do you want that?" And in my fucking head, I was like, "Damn, dog, that makes sense. I guess I am the bigger man. Like figuratively and literally, I'm the bigger man around here." And I've never seen those fools again. And then next thing you know, but I'll never forget the name of that dude who fucking the main guy who broke my glasses and took the money, right? And then later on, I heard that he was in prison doing all kinds of years, and I was like, good. That's what that motherfucker gets. You know what I mean? And if he ever watches this, comes across this video and sees me, hey, that's what it is, dog. You still want to beat me up? You can beat me up. I don't give a fuck. So that's the story of how some cholos from the neighborhood punked me, and it was embarrassing.